Well, the NBA Cup is going on, and they've got some interesting looking courts. So we're going to talk all about the first two nights, I guess we'll say, of NBA Cup, the Emirates Air NBA Cup. If they want to endorse the podcast,
I was still
also
working
will
on
not
that
say no.
sponsorship, buddy. I'm trying to get that
Also,
flight to Abu Dhabi for you.
also will not say no to an endorsement with them. Literally one flight, and we will give you whatever you want at this point.
Oh, whatever we
Um,
want. Wow. Okay. I mean, I'm gonna try to negotiate back a little bit, but
I
hey,
might have just ruined that for you. So yeah, we're obviously going to warm up with NBA Cup. The NBA has more injuries, which sucks. Three pretty big name
dude,
stars
it's
being injured.
insane. Like, why? I feel like all we've talked about so far this season is injuries. It's every
There's
and for the Pelicans, I don't know what the
yo,
Pelicans did this. The Pelicans need to sage like the Smoothie King Arena. They need to go conduct a seance down on Bourbon Street. Like,
yeah.
whatever it takes, because I don't know what they did to deserve the start to the season they have injury wise.
I once drank so much on Bourbon Street that I think I did do a séance of my own self.
Well, get back down there and fix it.
Cause I'll tell you what, that was one of the worst puke nights of my life, is just on Bourbon Street into a sewer. You're just the worst human ever. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like they're used to that though. At least,
Oh,
like,
the whole street smells like puke and what is it? Wally's chicken? Wally's chicken? Like the fried chicken Wally's chicken place at midnight? That's all that street smells like.
dude, I have never been to New Orleans. It's like the one thing in the South I feel like
Oh,
I didn't
wow.
do. And the
Yeah.
worst part is my brother, my cousin, and my dad were literally just down there 2 weeks ago for
Mm.
LSU Bama. And you know what your boy was doing? A family law memo because my life was a joke, Justin.
Oh, that sucks.
Dude, I mean, just like it's law school. We're almost done, but like, oof, that one hurt, man.
That would be a fun topic to do for social media, or like submit your story to us, like a sporting event you were supposed to go to, but you missed out because of blank thing, and that game ended up being epic because of the whatever result happened within the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, law school warps your mind like that. For me personally, like, dude, I almost hesitated, and I can say this now because I didn't, and I went. But like, I went to when the Phillies were in the World Series in 2022. I went to Game 3 in Philly. They won. It was unbelievable. It's easily the best sporting event that I've ever been to. Shout out to Mike Hayden, one of my best friends who works for the team, and he hooked me up. Calls me at like 4:30 while I'm in the library and is like, yo, get down here. I've got a ticket. Like, and I'm in Camden, New Jersey, which is right across the river. So like, it's not like I'm not far away. I was so in the trenches and just like my brain was still kind of
Had to
broken at
not
the
go.
time. I
Yeah.
almost didn't go. Like I legit for a second. And shout out to my fiance. I called Amber and Amber's just like, are you dumb? She's like, get down there. She's like, you're gonna regret that for the rest of your life. I would have regretted it for the rest of my life. So
I didn't go to, and was invited because I still am in the media, but at this point in my life, I was still helping out a sports show that we had here at the station, and was invited to sit in the media center for the Chargers Jags playoff game,
oh yeah, the comeback.
and I didn't go because I didn't want to deal with the traffic.
Yeah, that's tough. And you know what? I get
Yeah.
it. That is part of it as you get older.
There is a chance I would have
Wild
left before
turnaround.
the big comeback anyway, like, even if I was there, because I do usually leave those things early, because I quite like, top of my list of things that will piss me off is traffic, so, like, that's a big part of it.
I hear you.
But, yeah, so I'll always have to sit on that one a little bit, which sucks.
I was always impressed with the Jags fans that game. Not to be totally off topic, but none of the Jags fans left. And I know that was their first home playoff game in a while, but like
Yeah.
they kind of deserved that a little bit. I appreciated them sticking around because they were getting killed in the first half. It was like what, 34-0, 31-0,
Yeah,
something like that.
it was a huge comeback. It
Yeah,
definitely
Trev had
was.
4 interceptions.
Yeah.
Like in
Yeah,
another world, that was the turning point, and that's when Trev became the franchise quarterback, and that got them into the playoffs. Unfortunately, that just looks like a flash in the pan at this point. I'm not trying to rub in dirt or anything like that. I want the Jags to succeed. I'll always have love for them, but
so
yeah,
well,
it's just unfortunate it hasn't worked out with Trev.
yeah, I agree. It's a bummer. I have my conspiracy theory. He's supposed to have a kid here if he hasn't already. And I'm convinced that this injury potentially being out for the back half of the season was scripted in the contract. But we're not here to talk football. We're here to talk NBA and specifically NBA Cup to give you some of the standings of the teams that are doing well for the most part. Either got one win or two wins with no losses right now in the West. Group A, Rockets and Trailblazers are 1-0. Timberwolves are 1-1. Kings and Clippers are 0-1. West Group B, Thunder and Lakers are 1-0. I don't think that's necessarily that surprising in West Group. Suns are 1-1. Obviously, we'll talk about injuries here in a little bit, and Kevin Durant is a part of that. Spurs and Jazz 0-1. West Group C, Warriors are 2-0. Pelicans are 1-0. The very injured Pelicans are doing their thing. Mavericks, Grizz, and Nuggets all 0-1. So we can talk about that because I also think that's a little surprising. In East Group A, shout out to the Magic, shout out to the Knicks, 2-0. Nets, Hornets, 76ers all without a win. Sixers the only one with two losses. East Group B, Pistons 2-0, Bucks 1-0, Heat 1-1, Pacers and Raptors 0-1 and 0-2 respectively. East Group C, you got Hawks, Cavs, and shouldn't be any surprise with the Cavs because they literally haven't lost yet. Cavs are 1-0, Hawks are 2-0, Celtics, Wizards, Bulls 0-1. There are some teams out of that list that I did not expect to start off with a loss.
Oh yeah, I mean,
again, it's still very early reactions. We're only 2 games into this thing.
Yeah, though I will say this: if you are 0-2 right now, I think the NBA Cup is over for you, unfortunately. So for the Sixers, for the Raptors, and no, that's actually it. So for the Sixers and Raptors, thank you for playing.
Great company the Sixers are in there, yeah.
Don't get me started with this. I really I don't want to. That loss to the Magic without Paulo is disgusting. And I know that Embiid and PG are still finding chemistry. They're 2-10. I'm sick of this franchise. They're not winning anything serious. I'm not going to totally dump the clip on them again this week, but just don't. I don't want to talk about the Sixers. Okay. I want to talk about any other team other than the Philadelphia 76ers because I am so gosh darn sick of this franchise. I got all my F-bombs out.
You want to talk about someone that just needs
thanks for that, Josh. I appreciate it.
We need to go into freaking Geno's and do a seance for the Sixers or something. There's some kind of
hang on. If we're doing a seance at cheesesteak spot, we're not going Geno's. Listen, I know you follow me on Instagram. I'm 20 cheesesteak spot deep since coming back. We're not going to Geno's. I'm stopping it at 30, I think. And I've been to Geno's. Geno's was part of it. Like, I think if you come to Philly, I do think everyone should do Pat's and Geno's at least once. Yeah. But like, if you're going for one cheesesteak, don't go to Pat's or Geno's, man. There are without even blinking, I can think of 10 spots that are way, way better. And I haven't even hit Angelo's yet. Angelo's is supposed to be by a lot of people the best in the city. Like that's one of the next ones on my list. But
you got to do what Tim B does. The Taco Tuesday count. You just got to start doing every.
No, just I can't do that. I'm gonna have a heart attack by age.
Well, you're gonna have to do a lot of running.
I'm not gonna make it past like 37 if I'm eating cheesesteaks every Tuesday. Tim B is at what, like I think that dude's been eating tacos, for like 400 straight Tuesdays. Like that started back when I lived in Jacksonville. I haven't lived in Jacksonville for like 7 years now.
I'm very impressed by his dedication because like I know Nicole at one point when we knew we were pregnant wanted to do like a year recap in photos, those apps that you take a picture every day.
Yeah.
I think we made it like a week and it was just like, you know what? I don't feel like taking these photos anymore.
Yeah. I mean, every Tuesday, there's been a lot of, because I imagine there's a lot of different things going on every Tuesday, but that man always at the bare minimum finds a Taco Bell. So
it's a Taco Bell if it's a emergency taco just to get through the day to keep the list going.
Yeah. I mean, that man just locked in. So shout out to our guy, Tim B. I hope all is well with Tim.
I might be dating myself here, but I would be very curious to see if he still has a running Snapchat streak with someone. Is that's a thing still, right?
Oh man, I forgot those existed. I mean, I did. I do remember that, but like I don't know. I didn't delete Snapchat. Like I still have it. There's like maybe 2 people that Snapchat me still. Like I don't know. The peak Snapchat though was great.
Well, but so that's the thing is I think we're old. Like people still love.
No, we're definitely old.
People still really
I think about that occasionally when I'm like, we're on season 12 of the podcast. Like we were 23 when this started. Like
When we pass the amount of seasons that Supernatural had, then I'm gonna feel some kind of way about it.
Yeah, I mean, if we beat General Hospital, then we've really done well.
Grey's Anatomy, we passed Grey's Anatomy somehow.
Yeah, I mean,
Because they're still going.
they are, and I don't know how, honestly.
When put it this way, when we started the podcast, Prison Break, I think, was still a show.
I mean, there were a lot of I probably. Breaking Bad had just ended because I watched the end of Breaking Bad was when I moved to Jacksonville, the second half of season 5.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, a ton of great shows. Some great shows that just not even started yet. Like, I mean, Marvel was still.
Wait, no, Game of Thrones would have been like 2
out.
seasons in or something like that. Yeah.
Thrones was out. Thrones was season 4, I think, was the first one I watched in Jacksonville because season 4 is lit. Like, there's a lot that happens in season 4.
I told you my whole story of why I don't watch Game of Thrones, right?
I don't think so.
This is a fun off topic. So at work when we were part timers, or doing the groundwork to launch our successful media careers. I worked. My job was
they've objectively been successful.
Yeah, I know.
I want to say for the record, and I'm laughing at it, but like, listen, you are the program director of a radio station. If we're gonna flex, I've got an AP award on my shelf. Like, listen, we did good.
I got a Marconi, dog. Like, let's go.
That's right. Talk it. You got the trophy in that room with you?
No, it's technically my boss's name, which sucks. But because
I figured it'd be the station name at least.
Well, it is the state. Yeah, it is the station name.
Well,
but he was the main boss at the time that we won. But Marconis are weird. They do it for the year before. And that was the year he got hired halfway through. So he helped with the submission, but he wasn't there for a lot of it. So
Marconi, by the way, for those who don't know, is like the radio Grammy, essentially, or the radio Oscar. Like it's the best in, everything you could think of in radio.
And what's super awkward about that is, like, we had an entire team turnover halfway through the year. So the team that got let go, like, they felt some kind of way about it too. And
that sounds like radio.
And
I can say that. My bad. Justin cannot say that. I can say that. Justin cannot say that.
I think that might be why some of those people and I are no longer communicating with each other.
Hello.
But yeah, bummer times. But either way, so back to that story. I'm working a Saturday.
It's not Justin's fault, for the record. If they listen to this, don't be mad at Justin.
It's it's a Saturday morning. We're fresh out of college, so I'm definitely hungover. I've been drinking the night before. I had to pretty much watch a computer from 6 a.m. to 3 p.m. And just make sure we didn't go off air.
Right.
So I did a lot of Netflixing. Like I said, I watched all of Prison Break. I watched all of Lost. I watched all of a few. Breaking Bad was another one, and Game of Thrones was next on my list. And I got to season 2, episode 2. If anybody wants to go back and watch that episode, don't do it with kids around. That's my warning, because it's when a character.
That's a good general statement,
but it's on that episode particularly is a certain character that goes by the name of Littlefinger was teaching his employees how to do stuff together.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I'm watching it on a company computer, and the audio is coming through the board in the room. Like, I have it in queue for anybody.
I was like, oh no. I'm like,
and so our GM, who his name's Bill at the time, our GM would randomly come in early as hell just to like see what's going on with people and meet the part-timers and kind of like gut check people a little bit. And so he came in that day, and again, I was hungover as hell, and he comes in, and I see the door open, and I immediately try to command Q because I had an Apple computer, and this isn't an Apple computer. So I hit command Q to try to like make it go away so there's not the noises of them doing that happening out of a work computer. Well, whatever command Q was at that point, it froze the computer, and the audio is just, he's talking to me, and the audio was just, I froze. Like, I didn't know how to, and I was convinced I was fired after that and never got fired. But that's why I can't watch Game of Thrones. I literally have never turned it on since.
Wow, you're just completely scarred from it too. That's crazy. You have a lot of plot lines. I mean, you did spare yourself from the ending, so that was a little.
That's what I heard too. Yeah, so that's a little better.
But I swear, this is the last off-topic thing I'm going to say. I ran into Bill back in the day in the liquor store one time at Total Wine.
Mhm.
And obviously Bill was my boss too. Like the boss, not just like the boss of our radio station, like the boss of the entire cluster. And
And he
I've
then
got
went to be the boss of all of the radio
right.
stations for us.
And so, like, I've got a handle of like Jack or something in my hand. So not
Mm,
only is it just like I'm buying liquor, it's heavy and it's a lot of it. And Bill just immediately we make eye contact, and I'm just like kind of laughing. He's
shoot.
like, "Hey, Kevin, good to see you. You're getting the hard stuff tonight, aren't you?" And me though, with no hesitation, and I am proud of this because I didn't hesitate at all. I look at him and go, "Well, I work in radio, Bill." We were good after that. I'm telling you, we were
He
just
was set.
completely neutralized it. And it's like, look, he's there buying wine too. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah,
But
we both know what it is here.
so the Emirates NBA Cup.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Orlando and New York, both you got to feel good about in Group A. I mean, we'll see how Brooklyn does. Brooklyn kind of needs to win here against Charlotte, and Charlotte likewise needs to win that game to probably keep their chances alive. But yeah, they'll be duking it out too over point differential. They're the last. Magic and Knicks play each other. They're the fourth game of their group play, so that could potentially be pretty meaningful there.
And to your Magic comment, again, we don't have to talk about how it was against the Sixers, but a very good team effort in stepping up while Paulo was out.
Yeah.
And which is what we've seen in general, but like that kind of felt like oh yeah, we are probably going to be all right to get through this until he's back.
Yeah, beating Charlotte without Paulo is one thing. Beating the Sixers is definitely a
Well,
notch in
beating
their
the
belt for
Sixers
sure.
with Embiid and Paul George, like
Right.
that's the asterisk to it. And I know the Sixers still trying to figure out that chemistry,
Don't shoot them bail. Don't you
but
shoot them bail.
but the Magic should feel great about that.
They should.
Getting 31 points out of Wagner. Why can't I ever say his name? And then Jalen Suggs, 19 points as well. So that's a good one. Like we said, they're 2-0. The other game that I thought was pretty good was from the Heat against the Pacers. It was high scoring,
Yeah.
144 to 111. Bam cooking with 30 points, 17 of those in the fourth quarter. He had 11 rebounds as well. Indiana, obviously, one of the teams that went almost the distance last year.
Yeah. And well, Miami had to win that game too because
Right.
Miami stumbled against Detroit. I
Right.
mean, Eric Spoelstra, a weird coaching mishap, calling that with the timeout error there that ended up costing them. It was a 4-point game. For Detroit, though, you got to obviously be thrilled with that start. You get the win over Toronto there.
You think if that's any other coach, though, he doesn't get as much leeway?
Yeah, of course. But I think that's the luxury of being one of the best coaches of all time is that you get a lot more leeway for things like that. And Spo owned it right away. Like he didn't run from it. It's a rare mistake from Eric Spoelstra. Like, you know how highly we all think of him. I think he's arguably the best coach in the NBA. Yeah, Atlanta in the driver's seat in Group C in the East, like you said, wins over Boston, wins over the Wizards. And I mean, last two, you got Charlotte and you got Cleveland. or Chicago, excuse me. And then you got Cleveland. I mean, you got to feel pretty good about that. Beat the Bulls, you're going to at least be in position to, battle for one of those four, the top non-group spot.
Well, and it's interesting because I don't really necessarily know how to feel about the Bulls, at least in the NBA Cup, because the Cavs beat them.
Mm-hmm.
But like, holy hell, that was a high score. 144 to 126 is like, geez.
Yeah.
Against any other team, if the Bulls are putting up that, I feel pretty confident about their ability to win those games at that point. But obviously, the Hawks are cooking right now. Again, a win against the Wizards to me is like, okay, well, that should probably happen.
Yeah, the Hawks should be beating the Wizards.
To me, the more crazy wins, I'm trying to pull it up real quick to make sure I can give you the right stats. I would say the biggest win from Friday night to me is the Pelicans over the Nuggets. Like that's a big win, especially because the Pelicans are so insanely hurt. They didn't have any of the guys. I think Jokic was actually out of that game too, but still should be enough to beat a thoroughly crippled Pelicans.
The Pelicans are running Brandon Ingram in a G League roster at this point.
Pretty much. Yeah.
One you got to, I think the other win you have to feel good about too, if you're fans of them, is Golden State. Being at 2-0, but I think with the first one over Dallas, obviously just the emotions there. Like you've got this the first time with Klay Thompson back in the arena. They had basically showed, I think Steph was saying, like, I had already seen the tribute video so that I wouldn't get emotional when it happened.
That's fair.
But the whole staff greeting him in the captain's hats and obviously the nod to him boating across the bay every time. Yeah, that's definitely one of those games where, it can get, emotions can take over that more than a regular game would.
Mhm.
And look, Clay came out great. He's had an excellent start to his career in Dallas. But yeah, for Golden State to hang on there, Steph was phenomenal in the fourth. They got a win over Memphis now too. So yeah, they're in the driver's seat. The very injured Pelicans in Game 3, and then the Nuggets in Game 4, who may not be playing for anything, depending on how their next two go against Memphis and Dallas. So yeah, I mean, look, anybody that's 2-0 in the driver's seat, you got to feel pretty good about. I think for the Magic and the Knicks, it's just unfortunate for one of them because, like you said, you may have to run the table here. But it is. So much of this is still 0-1. The gameplay has been good so far. I mean, yeah, it's been marred by injuries, and we'll talk about that a little bit here after the break. But I mean, that's just kind of been the story of the NBA so far this season. Like, I hate that it's like this way, but it more or less every team is dealing with a major injury right now. And so, again, better early than late, but we kind of felt like injuries marred the playoffs a little bit last year. You don't want to see that happen again for 2 straight years. That would be pretty unfortunate.
Yeah,
Welcome.
but it'll just give a new angle for everybody to try to showcase some younger talent or new talent. To me, it always opens up a window for someone to surprise us.
Yeah, well, that's the purpose of this cup, right? Like, that's
Right.
why I always was a big proponent of this. Like, I think it gives younger teams something to play for. Like, I think this is more than a moral victory for certain teams if they win this, and for
Mhm.
like winning the NBA Finals is hard. Like, that's kind of my whole thing is that it works really well in soccer. Like, yeah, there's still the ultimate trophy of getting Larry O'Brien and winning the NBA title. Like, I don't think that's going off the table as number one. But like, yeah, I think there are ways for teams to measure this as potentially a success and a successful season, and for young teams like to build that confidence going forward where, yeah, maybe you can start competing in a little bit more meaningful games. I don't know. I think once it really gets single elimination and out of group play is when I think you'll see teams start to turn it up a little bit here.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
and again, I think that will happen more and more as this exists. Like, I think there's a good possibility of this taking on more meaning. Just the more it hangs around. Like, I don't think it's really going to lose it at all there.
So I'm trying to see if I can find the next schedule. So the next games for us in the NBA Cup is going to be on Tuesday the 19th.
Yeah,
We have Cavs Celtics. That's going to be a big one.
it's a big one.
That's a big one. Hornets Nets. That doesn't feel like any fun to watch. Nuggets Grizzlies, Pelicans Mavs, Thunder Spurs, Jazz Lakers. Really, out of all that, the only one I care about is Cavs Celtics.
Yeah.
Honestly, maybe Nuggets Grizz because I think both of them are 0-1, so like they can kind of bounce back a little bit. But really only one game. It's a 7 p.m. game. That's the one I'm going to be honed in on. And then you take it to Friday, which is obviously a bigger slate. You got Nets Sixers, nah. Celtics Wizards, nah. Warriors Pelicans could be cool depending on where everybody stands and what lineup the Pelicans are able to roll out essentially. Blazers Rockets. I mean, both teams are in the win column, so that one would be interesting to see. Two younger teams showcasing talent. Hawks
That
Bulls.
was such a good sell by you, buddy.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm proud of you for that.
Hawks Bulls, Bucks Pacers, Mavs Nugs, Kings Clippers. Yeah, cool. I don't know. Not much inspiring on that. Honestly, I honestly think on Friday, November 2nd, the two exciting games to watch will be Warriors Pelicans and Blazers Rockets. Like,
I shoot.
maybe Hawks Bulls because it could be a high
Hawks
scoring
Bulls
affair
might
at
be
that
more
point.
entertaining than both
Yeah.
of them. Yeah, I was gonna
Yeah.
say they're kind of evenly matched. Like, Warriors Pelicans has potential to be a bloodbath.
Yeah. Yeah. Toilet Bowl, Sixers Nets for sure.
We're moving on. Welcome everybody to the Drive Edition NBA podcast. My name is
I'm
Kevin
trying to
Rafuse.
bait you in.
I don't want to be baited. I have enough going on right now. What are we doing? Anyway, I'm Kevin Rafuse. Joining me as always, my co-host Justin Cousart.
I can't believe this MF still made the layup. What? WTF? I'm pissed.
Oh man, I have no idea here, truly.
It's one of our injured players we'll be talking about.
Is it KD?
No.
Is it Chet?
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
I was like, oh, you're at a 50-50 now.
We only got a few. Yeah, we got a few major ones at least. I mean, a lot of minor ones going on too, but
Yeah.
a few major ones.
Yeah, Chet also tweeted after the injury, I can't tell if it's worse or better that I've been through something similar before. On one hand, I know how to approach it, I know what to do and what not to do, and how beautiful it'll be on the other side. But the other hand, I felt the frustration of this process, and I know it can be overwhelming. So
Yeah.
obviously, a good road ahead for Chet, and we'll talk about that in a little bit after our little break here. But if you want to watch the video version of the podcast, we do have one. You can find us on YouTube, search Driving Dish NBA Podcasts, and you can subscribe there. You get notifications when new episodes are coming out. We usually come out with them weekly.
Yeah, and watch the pod or listen to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts: Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, iTunes, Player FM, wherever you get your podcasts, you can find us. And now, a word from our sponsors.
So let's start with the biggest injury out of these injuries. While we go into it, obviously we're going to go to OKC on this one. Chet Holmgren had a real nasty looking fall against Golden State, and now has a fractured hip or a hip fracture. Going to miss at least 2 months. The return to play protocol will be checked in 8 to 10 weeks. I was reading a whole thing from Thunderwire. They interviewed a doctor about what what I think they call it, a right iliac wing fracture. I
Mm-hmm.
want to say I got that right. I don't think I
I
got
know it
that
felt
right,
good, Just.
though. Okay, I felt good. Which, the doctor was explaining is a very, this injury happens a lot when there's direct impact to the hip area. Obviously, if you saw the fall, that's kind of what happened. But this injury is more of like a car crash kind of injury,
Yeah.
or bike crash injury. Sports injury is where this one is, but it's very rare. Um, so it's going to take a while, and like I said, Chet's already given the whole, I know what I got to do. I'm going to grind it out. We're going to get back in 8 to 10 weeks, hopefully. Um, it's tough for a team that's right at the top of the West, and one of the teams we expect to really be competing. Now, it doesn't take them out for the whole season, so I think that's okay. And the chemistry isn't necessarily a concern because the guys did it last year. So I'm not too worried about that, but you do worry about rushing it back and maybe making things worse.
Yeah, I mean, again, better that it happens early. Better with OKC that they have the depth to handle this. He'll be reevaluated in about 2 months, and I mean, I think the good thing that you look at here is that it's just not a long-term injury. Like this is a fracture; it's going to heal. It probably won't linger for the rest of the season. I mean, he's going to be sore for a while. Obviously, I'm not trying to downplay this, but like, I don't think this is like a hamstring injury where it might linger the rest of the season and kind of really hamper you and slow you down. I think it's just obviously most unfortunate too, because we saw in the summertime originally for his rookie year that kept him out. Like it's just an unfortunate start to his career when he's really blossoming. I mean, he's second in the league in rebounds right now. Just again, a huge part of what OKC is doing in the leap that they're expected to take this year. So it's unfortunate. Again, 2 months, it's not the end of the world. You'd rather have this happen now. But yeah, it's unfortunate. And it's, I mean, it's a little bit of a freaky injury, I mean, it's a hard fall. Like this happens. Andrew Wiggins was, driving in and they just, went up, he wiped out. But
He and having a good year, again, only 10 games, but 16.4 points per game, above career average in rebounds from last year. About the same assists. Everything was looking like he's going to, what we saw last year is what we're going to get out of him this year. I was trying to pull up his on-off stats to see what we're working with. I did already see that apparently Dwight Howard is making a case for them to bring him in the
yeah,
meantime. So, oh yeah, here you go. So they're a plus 8.8 per 100 possessions with him on the court
yeah,
last year. Oh, here we go. Okay, so that was last year. This year, they're a plus 16.9. Like
yeah.
it's, they're going to feel it.
Defensively is where they're going to feel it. I think offensively they can make up the production a little bit, but defensively, because he's able to, move out on the perimeter a little bit as well. Like he's a dynamic shot blocker. We know that. I think he's only behind, like, I know he's behind Wemby. I feel like he's behind Walker Kessler as well. The
For
third
blocks.
Yeah, third
Yeah,
for blocks right
I'm pulling it
now.
up to see. Hold on, let's see.
The problem is that Yeah, I mean, and just OKC now, for all their depth, they are a little thin at big. Like Isaiah Hartenstein hasn't played
Yes.
yet this year. They're going to get him back at some point, but even Jalen Williams has been dealing with an injury. So they're just thin there right now. And so in the interim, like right away in that Golden State game, you saw them get after it and attack them. That part is where I'm a little more worried short term, and they're going to have to figure that out. Hartenstein should be back, hopefully, and that'll obviously go a long way. But you're still a little bit from that as well. That's not just happening tomorrow.
I think you would be genuinely surprised at a few of the names that are here in the top blocks list
I
for the
probably
season.
would.
Wemby's number one.
Yeah.
And what's worth mentioning is Wemby has almost 50 blocks. He is too shy of 50. He has 48 blocks through 13 games played. That is almost 20 more than number two.
Yeah, I mean,
who has played only one less game than Wemby.
Turns out being really tall helps you block shots. That's crazy.
And number two is Brook Lopez.
Yeah, yeah, I get that. Does surprise me a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, and then Chet, for anybody wondering, he's fourth on this list. He has 26.
Brook must have just passed then. Chet was third, I think, when he went down.
Brook is at 20. Yeah, Brook has 29. Chet has 26. So yeah, there's a good chance that over the last two games that he's played, he passed him. But yeah, man, that's wild that Wemby has so many more blocks than
he probably leads that stat for the rest of his career, right?
I would imagine so. Maybe, I mean, honestly, like Chet would be one of the ones that I would say maybe he kind of challenges him a little bit.
Definitely.
But yeah, I mean, he's just got so many more blocks. I mean, he's literally almost got 20 more blocks than Brook Lopez right now. And he's only played one more game. And he is 16 years younger. Like, that's so wild. So yeah, there you go with a little block rundown of the NBA. Next injury we can get into if you want to is the Pelicans. Zion, who we literally were talking about last week, saying at least he's not hurt.
Literally, it aged like
him.
milk. It was within hours. It was now Zion's out.
We are not allowed to say at least Ingram's not hurt because, geez, dude. Yeah, Zion's diagnosed with left hamstring strain. They did some imaging on it to confirm the injury. He's out indefinitely. Here we go again. I mean, he did play. I think Zion played like 60 or 70 games last year. He was pretty healthy for the most part. But now let's refresh and rehash is he's always going to be hurt talk, because that's what kind of follows Zion around a lot now.
Yeah, I mean, the Pelicans are saying 4 to 6 weeks, but again, we just talked about it a second ago. This is a hamstring right now, and
do you rush it?
No, you can't rush it. Like, there's nothing you can rush about Zion Williamson, but I think we're just also at the point where it's like, I don't know what you do here. Like, you're right. He did play 61 games last year.
61, okay.
It's the most that, like, he's had the moments, but it's, we talk about him being the story about how he's been the only guy to stay on the floor, and then immediately now it's a 4 to 6 week injury. Like, I think at some point you just have to admit that, like, you just have to be honest about these guys. And I think the honesty, and it's brutal for Zion, because Zion is one of the more highly touted prospects of our time. Like, guy absolutely dominated at Duke. He gets hurt all the time. Like, he can't stay healthy at the NBA level. And I think that's extremely unfortunate for New Orleans, obviously. Like, when you think you're getting a generational prospect, like, any step that they're going to take revolves around Zion being on the floor. And he will come back probably at some point this season, but it's just like, you're right. I've seen this movie before. And I mean, obviously, it's extra cruel at a time where the Pelicans just, again, have everybody else out. Like, Murray's been missing basically the entire season since opening night. CJ McCollum's hurt. Herb Jones is hurt. Jordan Hawkins is hurt. Again, Jose Alvarado's missed time. Like, it's everybody. It's the whole team.
It's gonzo. They're cursed.
It's tough, though, with Zion, man. Like, I don't know how the Pelicans stay afloat. There's just, the injury report keeps getting worse and worse. Like, at some point in the Western Conference, like, you're just going to run out of bodies. And I think that's where they're at right now.
Yeah. And luckily, most of them, I don't
Zion played 71 last season. Excuse me. Not
71. I thought it was 70. I thought it was 70, but I wasn't sure. And I do wonder, not all the injuries are for the whole season. So, like, you will get them back at certain spurts, but if Ingram and the Pelicans are able to stay within the mix and you're able to get this healthy team out there, like, you can do a run in the playoffs if it's a play-in game or even above, like, you can still make a run. It's not totally tank the season. But I guess I keep asking about the rushing him back thing because, like, you can't let it get too bad, and we know what the West is right now in terms of competitiveness, but if you get all those guys back and healthy, I don't see why you couldn't try to make a run at it and probably make a little bit of a splash. I don't think it's the season's over kind of talk yet.
No, well, because it's October or November. Like,
Right.
I think that's the
Well,
only reason
listen,
why I was saying that. But like,
yeah.
look, the Pelicans, it is like they're and some of these guys are weak, like long injuries, or they're not
Well,
going to
that's what
be
I
played
mean,
till like
like,
4 to 6 months, right? Like they
it's
are
like
going
a
to come back.
broken hand, they'll be back. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's just until then, like you're going to lose a lot of ground. Um, and even when he comes back, like that's the thing is, it's like you can't just expect Zion to pop back into this lineup
Right.
and just be, high flying Zion. And I mean,
Mhm.
look, they're 4-9 right now. They're in last place in the Western Conference with Utah. It's tough. It's just
Yeah. You gotta
it's
get
they're very it's been very unfortunate. There's no other way around it.
it in a perfect world, the Pelicans flounder themselves to 500 and everybody starts coming back and getting healthy, and then you're at least playing you're at least talking play-in tournament at that point.
Yeah.
And that's what you hope, but yeah, it's not looking great right now.
No,
And
it's
yeah,
definitely been one of, you talk about the more unfortunate starts to the season. Like
yeah.
that's pretty much the most unfortunate start you can get is from the Pelicans this year. Last injury, of course, that we want to hit is Kevin Durant. Calf strain, has already missed 3 games. Again, a shame because KD, I think, has been playing. I mean, arguably, when you look at the MVPs at the beginning of the season, I think KD is right there in that conversation. Phoenix off to a great start. But now here you go again. KD dealing with the left calf strain. Bradley Beal's dealing with a calf strain as well.
All calf
Um,
strains. Grayson Allen's out with a calf strain too.
right. Nurkic is dealing with an ankle sprain. So he's back. Like Nurkic just played, but he was a bit limited their last game. Yeah, it's just that's my biggest thing is it's because KD was playing at such a high level. But when Phoenix is and the story with Phoenix so far is when they've had their 3 guys this season, it has been their depth. Like their depth is thin, but they've gotten what they need for like additional contribution wise from their, from the Nurkic's, from Royce
Mhm.
O'Neal, who's been great for them this
Mhm.
season, from Tyus Jones, who's been great for them this season. Like the problem is again, those guys go down and you don't have enough firepower to keep up because you're so thin. And they'll be able to maybe get some vet guys on the buyout market, and none of these seem too serious. So I think you have to take a little bit of relief there. But it kind of a mixed bag for Phoenix so far. Like I think the optimist is that hey, people weren't really talking about us, but when we're healthy, we do look like we've got something going here a little bit. If our,
Mhm.
we don't, most of these rotations shrink in the playoffs anyway, right? Like you're only going 6, 7, 8 guys
Yeah.
at the most. And so it's like, hey, if we get a functional top 7 with our 3 with Book and KD and Bradley Beal, you do like your shot to outscore anybody. It is though, like both of these guys, less with Book, I guess, but with Bradley Beal and with KD, you do have to really monitor their injuries here.
Yeah, and I think that's your point. That also is the counterpoint to it is like, yeah, while they're still dealing with, you still have Book, you have so many names on the team that you still have someone that could potentially step in for a game or two to try to get you through it. And back to your them being slept on is they really are slept on, and I don't know why because the 3 names you say right off the rip with the Sun is like, why are we discrediting them? I know they played bad last year, but like, let's be real here. That's 3 top 10, top 15 stars in the NBA.
It's just because we haven't seen it yet. Like,
Yeah.
I think that's really what it comes back to for me is it's like you see the potential, but you need to see them play consistently together. And I just like I don't think we've seen that with this Phoenix team so far. But you're starting to see the vision a little bit, and I do
Mhm.
think like Budenholzer's done a pretty good job down there so far. Um, you know, I think you got to keep him healthy. But I mean, in the Western Conference, there's going to be a shot, I guess. It it feels like the West is a little more other than OKC. Other than it, it feels pretty wide open beyond that. Like OKC is still the team for me to beat, but everybody else, I don't think Phoenix is apart from them that much.
Yeah. No, I agree with you on that. I can get behind that.
All right, who's balling, who's falling? Our NBA version of the stock market. We always like start with good before the bad. So Justin, I'll start with you. Who is balling this week?
My Ballin is going to De'Aaron Fox, who in the Emirates NBA Cup game recorded a franchise record 60 points, 24 of which were in the fourth quarter and overtime. But could also be a falling because they did not win that game.
Well, that's the problem, is where it's so weird for me, right? Like, that's an incredible game from De'Aaron Fox to get all
Yeah,
the flowers for that, but like, you lost the game. That stinks. Like, and it's an NBA Cup game, so it matters a little
I
more.
know. That's
I
such a
don't
bummer.
like Sacramento is one of those teams that I feel like it would like winning the in-season tournament would be great for them. Like, it'd
Yeah,
be really kind of celebrate this beam team resurgence they've had here a little bit. Yeah, definitely. I mean, again, shout Fox. My guy was going crazy, but yeah, pretty unfortunate that it comes in an L, and I think he's may have that in the back of his mind for a little bit.
I would
Um,
imagine.
all right, balling for me this week is Jared McCain. I'm not talking about the Sixers, but Jared McCain, last 4 games, 29 points, 4 assists, 34 points, 10 assists, 23 points, 2 assists, 27 points, 2 assists. Again, filling in for Tyrese Maxey, so a little bit of increased minutes there, but I mean, yeah, this was a guy that the Sixers got down in the 20s, like already looking like an instant impact type NBA player. Once Tyrese is back, in theory, that should give them a lot of depth there. But the fact that, he's kind of been placed into more of an offensive burden than he would be otherwise with how this is going early on. Like, I think the early returns got to be great there. Again, way too early to make any, strong predictions on this. But I mean, yeah, when you're looking at rookie of the year favorites, definitely have to be, keeping him in top of the list so far.
A plus minus a plus 13 in that loss to Orlando. Um, you know, yeah, definitely one of the only bright spots that's worth highlighting with the 76ers right now. And we'll leave it at that.
Yeah, no doubt about it. All right, who's fallen for you this week?
So falling for me isn't a person, it's NBA records because we
Okay.
had 2 happen just the other day. So Chris Paul is now the 3rd NBA player to reach 12,000 assists. For those who don't know, that list was only John Stockton and Jason Kidd. What's worth mentioning is Chris Paul's now past that. Jason Kidd's at 12,091.
Yeah,
So there's a good chance Chris Paul passes that this season and moves to number 2.
definitely.
So we'll keep an eye on that, 91-ish around that area assists to go. Give it a little bit and we'll probably be seeing that storyline down the line. The other one is James Harden is now tied with Allen for second in career threes. So congratulations to him, obviously behind Steph Curry. I don't think he's ever going to pass or catch Steph Curry. Harden now has 2,973. If you were wondering, Curry went into Friday night's game at 3,779.
Well,
So
and it's kind of fitting, not just because they were ex-teammates in Houston, but it's unfortunate for both of these records because in a way they get overshadowed by their peers. Like you just talked about with Harden, where it's like, that'd be huge when you're talking about Harden. Like that was such a big deal when Steph Curry broke Ray Allen's record and when Ray Allen originally broke Reggie Miller's record. And
mhm.
Harden here is about to clear that, but it just doesn't matter because you've got Steph Curry in front of you who's just out here cooking still and has totally broken that
Broken it by
record on
like
that look.
he's literally almost 1,000 over it already.
Yeah.
Like that's crazy.
And so for Chris Paul, and part of it too is probably with the lack of winning, unfortunately, like
Yeah.
not having that title. But I mean, Chris Paul's entering rarefied air among point guards, like chasing that Stockton record at this point. And again, Chris Paul is 38 years old at this point. I think the only reason, I mean, his rookie season was 2005, 2006. Excuse me, he's 39 years old right now. We should probably be talking about how ridiculous it is that Chris Paul, while all his other peers are retired as well, is still playing on a high level. Like, I know he's not peak point guard right now, but he still is like that. We were thrilled about that signing with him in San Antonio. We thought that was really going to help Wemby's development. Like, he can still come in and give you quality minutes every single night. And the reason reason we probably don't talk about it as much is because LeBron James is still doing it. And out here with 4 straight triple doubles and dominating the league the way he has, like, I think Chris Paul probably falls victims to a little bit of his peers there.
And I think Chris Paul is something that ESPN just pointed out in their article talking about Chris Paul's assist, passing. Last year, San Antonio ranked 22nd in pace entering, hold on, let me get this right. Yeah, San Antonio's 22nd in pace entering Friday's game. Last season, they were number 3 in the NBA for pace. So Chris Paul is really slowing it down. Let's get set up. And they are number 2 in assist percentage at 68.7 going into a Friday. Another thing Chris Paul can directly affect. So he took this young team who was just running wild last year, slowed it down, up the assists, the ball movement, and now look at that. They're still win, but it's still doing good in terms of teaching the correct ball or approach, I guess is the way to do it.
You know what's wild about Chris Paul's like career arc? He's been an all-star 12 times, right? And so a lot of the times are when like his years with the Hornets, all the main Clippers years with Lob City, like everyone except his last year with the Clippers, he was an all-star. And they were competing in Houston. Like, well, that's when they were making the conference finals runs. But like his 2 years in Houston, he didn't make an all-star team. It was when he went back to OKC in 2019 and 20, where his lone year, he was an all-star there. And then the 2 first years with Phoenix are when he was an all-star again. So just kind of interesting that like he takes a 3-year gap off and then in his late 30s gets back into the all-star game for 3 years.
Yeah. Yeah, I think one of the guys that is probably less talked about in terms of how impressive their game is.
Winning that ring in Phoenix would have done, and he'll get his flowers. And I especially when he hangs it up, and I think as he gets into the Hall of Fame, like people will realize. But like when you talk about like players that a ring would do something for their legacy, like if he had won that ring in Phoenix, it would have done so much. And especially when you add the fact too that the Suns have never won before, like I think breaking that drought for them too, because they've had so many competitive teams over the years. That would have really meant a lot, I think, for that. All right, Ballin or Fallin for me this week is the All-Star game as we know it. The NBA is in discussions on a new tournament style format as soon as this year. Talking about like 4 potential teams drafting, having them play a tournament style format. And I'm putting in Fallin just, for the sake of the format going away, kind of like the record. But I mean, I think we all know that the All-Star game needs to have something because it is completely uncompetitive and unserious right now.
Well, that's why the All-Star game should be in Fallin. It's just not serious.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you have these guys just do a little, you just got to put some pride back in it a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of agree with you. I'm okay with change. I do always give a nod to the NBA for being willing to make changes and try new things faster than a lot of other leagues are usually willing to do it.
I do agree with that. Though, yeah, I think with this one, Lord knows it's needed. Like, I think everybody's looking around and going, good Lord, that was terrible. It can't get much worse.
I should have asked this when we brought up Jared McCain. Because I think I saw that he is now currently the odds favorite for Rookie of the Year.
Mm-hmm.
Do you think he holds it? I know it is very minutes timed right now because he's filling in. Like, how much longer would he have to do it to essentially lock it in? Because Zach on Memphis, he's still putting up like double-digit scores, good defense. Like again, I feel like he's not talked about as much, and that's because McCain's come in and kind of been like a flash for the Sixers, so people will kind of notice that. But like, I don't know if he does it for half a season and then stops. Is that enough?
I mean, might be, yeah. If it's the first half of consistency matters with the award.
That's what I mean. You have a whole back of the season, and then
Maxi's going to be out for a little bit, so he's going to have the increased minutes. I mean, like you said, Zach Edey has had steady minutes, and that will matter. But I think if he's giving them quality rotation minutes, even if it's in a limited capacity, I still think he's going to be in the conversation for it. Like there's not that. Usually, too, Rookie of the Year obviously is the players that benefit from it are great players in bad situations who have a lot to do with the offense. There just hasn't really been one of those guys this year necessarily that's broken out. So, yeah, I think at that point, maybe you could stay afloat a little more just with rotation minutes than you would in a typical year.
Yeah, yeah, I kind of agree. I think it's awesome that he's in there. I saw that I'm reading the article now. He started the season plus 3,000 odds to win MVP. He is currently the favorite in terms of betting. So good for Jerry McCain. Sorry to bring it back. I just wanted to make sure we touched on that because that is definitely something to keep an eye on in terms of rookie of the year and seeing what it looks like depending on the injuries that the Sixers deal with going forward.
Yeah, never too early to start looking down the line. But shall we play some Immaculate Grid?
Do we want to? We don't want to do
No, we
names.
don't. I meant to say this beforehand, but no, it's very
Yeah,
Saturdays. I'm finding out are stat heavy days, and so the grid today for the listeners has like born outside the U.S. in 50 states. It's like 5,000 assists, and
here
it's
it
like
is.
another point based one.
This
It's
one.
10 rebounds per game. Yeah, like that's just not fun. Like we can
No.
bang this out in 4 seconds if we wanted to.
So let's do a previous good. You just want me to really score. Let me go like
Yeah, just pick a random one.
crazy down. All right, we are gonna do 8, 12, 23.
All right.
Okay. Okay. Okay.
Okay.
It's not horrible. We have an Alfred Payton option. I
Do
love it.
we?
Yeah, Alfred Orlando 5 assists per game.
Oh, yeah, true. Okay, yeah, he'll be low. Jesus, he probably did have 5 assists per game too, you're right. Um,
Oh yeah, no, he definitely did. Yeah.
yeah, 2%. Okay, sick. All right, nice. For the listeners, and again, you can watch all the Immaculate Grids on YouTube. Just search Driving Dish NBA podcast. Our columns this week from left to right are the Nets, the Rockets, and 5 assists per game per season. Our rows from top to bottom are the Magic, the Thunder, and all NBA. Okay, so yeah, we got a few different options here, ways we can go. I mean, do you just want to bang out the 5 assists per game per season? Like, I guess we could do that here real quick and
Yeah. Yeah, we could I was gonna say we could go Ricky Rubio. He was on OKC for a sec. Does it have to be
with the team, I'm pretty sure it has to be with the team.
I feel less confident, but there's probably a chance that happened.
When was Ricky Rubio wasn't on OKC? When was Ricky Rubio on
Wasn't
OKC?
he? Didn't they
No,
put Rubio on the team for like a season?
I don't think so, man.
All right, I'm gonna look that up. We won't use him, but I could have sworn he was on there for a second.
I don't think so, man. Um,
Let me pull.
5 assists per game per season for OKC. I mean, the obvious one is Russell Westbrook. The other obvious
Probably
one is
Harden.
Harden, Russell Westbrook,
I
SGA,
guess he never did. Huh.
Oladipo probably did that one season he was there. I mean, he was getting minutes. I wouldn't be surprised if he had over 5 a game. That one I'm a little less certain about, but like I think he'd been flirting right on that line around OKC. The one that like the other ones that you always can do with OKC that people just forget because they weren't the same franchise is the Sonics. So like Gary Payton is super obvious here for Seattle. I don't know if Ray Allen had 5 a game. I'm trying to think of like I don't know if he did in Seattle. But he might work there for OKC. Yeah, Russ we said, Harden we said, SGA we said. I'm trying to think of like other point guards they have or have had.
Yeah, was Chris Paul there?
No, Chris Paul was there. Yeah, Chris
You
Paul's
did
also
both.
there.
Okay, so he would probably work.
I'm trying to think like the random guys like towards the end of their career, like a Raymond Felton, for example. But I feel like he was so old by the time he got to
Wasn't
OKC.
so who was there after Harden left? Kate, was it
It was Kevin
Jackson?
Martin was the main piece in the trade, but Kevin Martin wasn't really
No, I
a
thought there was like
facilitator like that.
a something Jackson.
Oh, Reggie Jackson?
Yeah, do you think he had 5?
Oh man, Reggie was getting off the bench in OKC. That's the only reason I'm worried about it.
Okay.
I mean, he was good. If it was in Detroit, I wouldn't think
Definitely.
twice.
Yeah, definitely.
The other one that, oh man, like, did Darren Collison play in OKC?
Dude, I don't know. That one's tough.
I'm trying to think of like other Seattle guards who would have been. like who they would have had late. Because like a Rashard Lewis was a forward, it wouldn't be him.
Mhm. Dennis Schroeder played there. Do you think he had 5?
Dennis Schroeder did play there, and you know what? He would get there. I don't know. It's tough
I
to
don't
say
know.
Gunner, but like he might. I don't know. He's getting a lot of minutes in OKC. But I don't know if I feel good enough to bet on it, I guess is my point. Man, I'm stumped. I don't know why I can't, like, I got nothing working at all there right now beyond the people we've made. Why don't we do Gary Payton then? He's a legend, but like it's just at least it's with Seattle and somebody different.
All right, Gary Payton it is.
They better
Boom.
count that. Okay,
10%,
good. I
not
was
bad.
gonna say they better count that.
That'd be hilarious if they didn't.
All NBA and 5 assists per game is easy. I mean, we have
Oh yeah, you got a lot of
so
options.
many options there.
Did Embiid have 5 assists? That would be kind of a little
I think
niche.
Embiid did have 5 assists. I feel like we did this a few weeks ago, and it's like very, very close. But I think there was one season he
Should we
had
go Embiid?
5 assists. Yeah,
Because that's gonna be hella low.
Yeah, he's not known as a facilitator necessarily. Yeah,
0.04, dude.
0.04%. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, he had 5 assists per game. Let me pull it up. He had 5. Yeah, he only did it one time. He had 4 in 21 and 22. He had 5.6 assists last year in 23, 24.
Good. That's a good one. That's a good one to hold on to for sure.
All right, let's do the all NBAs because they're easy.
Okay.
I mean, Chris Paul works for OKC in Houston, but Chris Paul also works for Rockets and All NBA. Harden works for Rockets and All NBA. Tracy McGrady works for Rockets and All NBA. Moses Malone, Hakeem Olajuwon, Clyde Drexler might. He was there at the end of his career. I don't know if he was All NBA there.
Mutombo would work for both, right? Or does it have to be?
I don't know. Mutombo was All NBA though. He might. I mean, I also don't know if they have to be paired together with the team.
When paired with a non-category team, it does not to be. But
it does not.
No, but the player must have been named All NBA in a season with that team. So I think so. I think you have
when paired with the team. Okay.
It's kind of confusing. The wording is hella confusing.
Yeah, because Dikembe Houston, he was there at the end of his career, so if he's going to be All NBA, he definitely wasn't there.
Yeah.
I don't think he was with it because the Nets was later too. He went to the Nets after the Sixers, and like, I mean, I think he might have been with the Sixers if he's going to be. But
yeah.
I mean, Brooklyn All NBA. It's just, I mean, the main 3 from a few years ago: KD, Kyrie, Harden. And then like Jason Kidd for sure was All NBA at some point.
Did Lopez ever get it?
Dude, he might have, and that's where it's tough. Like, I don't know.
Paul Pierce?
Oh, Paul Pierce is a good one. I don't think he did it with Brooklyn though. He definitely would have. Like, he would apply if it didn't need to be paired with Brooklyn.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul Pierce and KG would both work there. But
Joe Johnson?
See, that one's a little more interesting. Joe was good still on those teams.
Yeah.
Everybody was kind of old, but like Joe was definitely still pretty good. The problem is with Joe is that I feel like he was like the guy in Atlanta, and that's where I'd be like inclined for him to be more of it. I'm trying to think of like maybe like a Julius Erving back in the day because he was on Brooklyn for a little bit. I just don't know if he did All NBA there. Or if it's even like, it may not even count because I think it's ABA.
This one's a tough one. This is a little tougher than we thought.
It is. Nets is definitely Nets is tougher than Rockets are. Rockets,
I mean, we have some chalky answers for both, but
I'm with Nets. I'm really stumped beyond Kidd, Durant, Kyrie, and Harden.
And then Rockets, probably T-Mac, probably Yao, probably Harden, probably Chris Paul.
The question marks that I'd have for Houston are Steve Francis, who's a maybe, Clyde Drexler, who's a maybe for me too. He was on the title teams, but he also was like he was later in his career. Like Portland is when he was really great. Houston, he is when he won titles, but he wasn't like the
Mhm.
peak glide back then. And same with Barkley. Like Barkley, I don't think like it was right after Phoenix, so he was more towards the end of his career. Like I don't think he was winning.
What about, didn't, oh my god, who went to the Rockets from the Bulls? Not Pippen, right? Pippen didn't end up on the
No,
Rockets,
Pippen
but
went to
didn't,
Portland.
what's his name end up on the Rockets at one point?
Who, Rodman?
Yeah, didn't he end up there?
I don't think so.
Oh, for whatever reason, I thought he went to the Rockets. Hmm.
I was trying to
Mm-mm-mm.
even think of like old Rockets is tough. I mean, Moses Malone is the only one I can think of. Moses Malone won
Yeah.
MVP there for sure. So he would have won.
Was there anybody there the years of Yao and T-Mac-ish time that would have also gotten on it?
No, that's my thing. Is like Steve Francis was the guy they
Yeah.
traded for T-Mac, and I just don't know if he won it. Steve Francis is great, but I don't know if he
Yeah.
won it there.
Mm,
I mean, Harden and Hakeem are going to be the most popular answers.
yeah.
So I think at that point that narrows us down to Moses, Yao, and T-Mac. Did I just say T-Mac was going to be popular? I think T-Mac will be popular too.
I think T-Mac and Yao are gonna be popular,
I
but
kind of do too. You want to go Moses Malone?
yeah, that's fine. We can do Moses.
I think he'll be. I think he'll be lower. Because he
Moses.
won MVP the year before, so that has to be right. Yeah. Okay.
3% is wild that it's that low, but good call.
Yeah, I'm a little surprised too, but they just because the names are all popular in Houston. Like that's the
Yeah.
thing. It's not like I mean, which they are with the Nets too. Like you're looking at like Harden and KD and Kyrie and Jason Kidd. Like all those are pretty household names in the NBA. I
Yeah.
feel like.
Yeah.
I mean, and I don't even know that Harden necessarily made All NBA with Brooklyn. Like he wasn't.
Vince Carter?
Oh, Vince Carter's a good one. You're right. Shoot, I forgot about Vince Carter in Brooklyn. And you know what? If he was making All NBA, it would have
It
been
would have
then.
been
It would have
then,
been. It would
right?
have been Toronto, and it would have been with Brooklyn. I just like. I don't know how many times he made All NBA, and that's why I'm like All
I
NBA.
don't know it
All
either.
NBA is sneaky because right because
Yeah.
it's
Well,
6
the problem
players in your
is
position.
I know, and the problem I get is like, well, these guys are Hall of Famers. They had to have done it, right? But the with the team part is tricky. Hmm. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know. It's between Kidd and Durant. I mean, Durant's going to be popular in. I guess Kyrie too.
Oh,
But even Kyrie, I'm
Kyrie.
not as positive about. Like Durant and Jason Kidd are the only two for Brooklyn that I am 100% positive were all NBA and they're there.
Well, let's just do KD because most likely this will be KD's most popular answer.
Yeah, it could be for sure.
You want to do that?
Yeah, I'm down with KD there.
25.
Yeah, okay.
That's lower than I think it would be for here.
Yeah.
For OKC Nets connection. So for the podcast listeners, what we have left is Nets Orlando, Nets OKC, Rockets Orlando, Rockets OKC.
Yeah, I mean Harden works
And
Harden works Brooklyn OKC and Houston OKC.
Mhm.
Chris Paul works Houston OKC. Durant, who we used, obviously works OKC and Brooklyn. I don't think did Dennis Schroeder play in Brooklyn? We mentioned Dennis Schroeder earlier.
Dennis Schroeder did play in Brooklyn. I do know that for a fact. He played in Brooklyn.
Yeah, well, then why don't we could do that.
Schroeder for
We could
Nets
do Schroeder
OKC.
for yeah, I'd be fine with that. He didn't play for Houston. He didn't play for Orlando.
I
So
I actually think he did play for Houston. Like I kind of remember him on Houston. So like I would be okay trying him for Nets and Houston. Oh, we don't have Nets Houston, do we?
no.
No, we can't do it anyway. But oh wait. Well, here we go. Schroeder, boom, point
Wait,
one.
what?
Let's
Wow.
go.
Really?
Let's go.
He's on Brooklyn now. That's the only reason I'm surprised.
Yeah.
Okay.
People try to forget his time with OKC, I guess.
Dude, that's crazy.
Well, you think about it, like you have so many options with Nets OKC, right? Like
You do. And big names.
big names, yeah. So, all right. So on to the other three. Houston, OKC, just to try to Isn't Steven Adams is on the Rockets right now?
Yeah, Steven Adams works. No, we mentioned him earlier too. Oladipo works. Oladipo played.
Oladipo works.
Oladipo
Westbrook.
works for both of them. He works for Houston and Orlando, and he works for OKC and
Oh
Houston.
yeah. I bet Oladipo is more tied to Orlando though. People know
Yeah, I
him
mean
more like
Orlando
that.
drafted him, so
Yeah.
that's my inclination as well.
Yeah.
Kevin Martin works, who we mentioned a little earlier for OKC and Houston. That was obviously the other side of the Harden trade. Yeah, I'm trying to think. You mentioned Steven Adams.
We said James Harden, right?
Yeah. We said James
Chris
Harden.
Paul.
We said Chris Paul.
Carmelo?
Yeah, Carmelo did play. Actually, that's a good point. I forgot about that. Yeah, that was back to back, and then that's when it looked like he was going to be out of the league maybe for a little
That
bit.
would be I bet Carmelo would be really low.
I think he'd be low. I think he'll be higher than you think, but I think he'll be low overall just because of like Harden and Chris Paul.
Yeah. All right. Well, what do you want to do? Who do you want to do then?
I'm trying to think for like Houston or we can do Steve Francis or T Mac for that actually. Yeah, you know what? Let's do that. No, we can do that. Let's do Steve Francis for Houston and Orlando first. I want to see how high this is going to be. The other side of the T Mac trade.
6%.
Okay, 6 is weirdly lower than I thought because Steve was good. Like Steve Francis is good for a little bit.
Yeah.
All right. For OKC and for Houston, yeah, my bad. Who are you gonna name again?
For OKC and Houston, who are we talking about? We were talking about Melo as an option.
We can do Melo there. That's fine.
All right, Melo.
We're doing a lot of good players today, so I feel like Carmelo fits. And
3% though is crazy.
I almost took a dig at Alfred Payton, but I'm not gonna do that. All right, Magic.
The GOAT, Orlando Magic GOAT. Alfred Payton to you, sir.
He was spotted out at the porch in Winter Park by one of my buddies one time, and that's actually a good restaurant, so I'll give him some credit there. All right, Oklahoma City, or not Oklahoma City, excuse me, Orlando
Carter.
and Brooklyn. Yeah, I was saying mentioned him earlier. Yeah, Vince.
Vince Carter works.
I'm pretty sure Jeff Green works. I mean, Uncle Jeff played everywhere at this point. But he definitely played for Brooklyn. He definitely played for the Magic as well. Dwight didn't play in Brooklyn. I thought about Dwight for a second, but I don't think he played in Brooklyn.
No, I don't think he did either. Because what's his name went? Not Dwight. The other. That's such a slight for not remembering his name. Andre Drummond. Didn't he play in Brooklyn?
He played in Brooklyn. He didn't play. Yeah, he didn't play in. He played in Brooklyn. He was in the Ben Simmons trade. He didn't play in Orlando though.
God, Orlando is tough.
I'm trying to think of crossover with Brooklyn. They're just like, I don't think JJ Redick. I don't think ever played in Brooklyn.
What about
Hito Turkoglu, Jameer Nelson? Like I was trying to get their 09
same kind of year. Orlando great Ryan Anderson.
Ryan Anderson. Wow, he was an Orlando great.
He played a lot of games for him. I think he ended up on the Nets at one point, or was on the Nets.
I'm thinking of Nick Anderson. Wait a minute, Ryan Anderson is not an Orlando great. Wait, Orlando great.
I thought I got that one past you.
Like, wait a minute, I'm like, yeah, Nick Anderson. Yeah, his jersey's retired. I was like, definitely, and now I'm like,
nope, Ryan Anderson.
You might be right, dude. That feels right. And I haven't thought about Ryan Anderson in a long time. I associate him with the Pelicans, weirdly, to be honest.
Yeah.
I'd go Ryan Anderson. He definitely played for the Magic, and so if he played for the Nets, it's going to be low.
Ryan Anderson. Oh, all right, there he is. Yes.
Wow, nice pull at the end. Hell yeah.
I want to see because I felt like it was low. Only 38 options.
Houston and OKC or Houston and Orlando, I should say, is actually lower. But with them, you have T Mac and you have.
Rashad Vaughn would have been the pull from 2018.
Oh, that's
he played 5 games for Orlando in 2018 and 1 game for the Nets in 2018 where he had 1 assist and that was it.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That would have been the move. No, if anybody got that, they're cheating.
Yeah, that's kind of how or you are literally him.
Yeah, right. Or
Both of those are
you were there.
possible. Why don't we? Do you mind scrolling down, see most popular answers? All right, so for
Okay,
Magic and Nets, it was Vince Carter. For Magic and Rockets, Tracy McGrady. For Magic, 5 assists per game per season, actually Penny Hardaway, who we didn't mention at all, so that would have been a good one. We did kind of get Alfred right away and didn't even look at that for a sec.
We didn't need to. We knew Alfred was a lock.
For sure. KD for Brooklyn and OKC, James Harden for OKC and Houston, Russell Westbrook for OKC, 5 assists per game per season. Nets, Jason Kidd was all NBA. So over KD. Okay, that makes sense with the usage of KD elsewhere. Rockets all NBA, Hakeem Olajuwon. Maybe that doesn't. Hakeem is the all-time Rocket. But I guess with T-Mac up in Orlando, that makes sense. I just figured maybe T-Mac with the recency. John Stockton, all NBA, 5 assists per game per season, the leader there, which makes sense as he is the NBA assist leader. If we want to review our grid one last time.
Wow, Dwight Howard would have worked there.
Where?
Rockets all NBA.
Oh yeah, yeah. Actually, you're right. He would have definitely worked. Yeah, I mean Dwight Howard was still good in Houston.
I know. I just didn't realize that. Yao Ming, Hakeem,
his first LA tenure ended a little poorly, but let's not. Dwight Howard was still a big get when he went to Houston initially.
Yeah,
he and Harden had some success early on. It just never really got over the hump.
The only one we didn't mention that's on this list is Ralph Sampson.
Yeah, wow. OG big man. Yeah, with Hakeem. He and Hakeem were had a little twins Howard deal going on. And then unfortunately, Ralph just I think he had I guess I don't really want to say this, but I'm not 100%, but I'm pretty sure he had substance abuse issues.
Oh man.
Because they made a sneaky Eastern or Western Conference Finals run with Hakeem, and then he just they had that they weren't competitive for a while, and then until the 90s again. Is it? Oh, okay. It might have just been injuries, which is a lot better than substance abuse. So I will strike that from the podcast.
Mm-hmm. Well, there you go.
Yeah, 3 knee injuries. Yeah, he attempted to come back too quickly, and so
well, that'll do it.
Because he was great. I mean, he actually ended up he played 10 years really. 5 seasons with Houston, 2 with Golden State, 2 with Sacramento, and 1 with Washington. That season with Washington, he only played 10 games. Yeah, that is a good one. Our grid one last time: Ryan Anderson, Magic and Nets. Steve Francis for Magic and Rockets. Elfrid Payton, Magic, 5 assists per game per season. OKC and Brooklyn, Dennis Schroeder. OKC and Houston, Carmelo Anthony. OKC, 5 assists per game per season, Gary Payton. Nets all NBA, Kevin Durant. Rockets all NBA, Moses Malone. And all NBA, 5 assists per game per season, Joel Embiid. Thank you everybody for listening to this episode of the Drive and Dish NBA podcast. We appreciate you guys as always. Leave us a review on iTunes, good or bad, or read them on the podcast. If you're not an Apple user, Google Play Store, Spreaker, Spotify, TuneIn, Amazon Music, Google Play, or I said Google Play Store, Player FM, excuse me, wherever you can find your podcasts, you can find us.
And we are on YouTube as well. Video versions of the podcast. You can subscribe so you get notifications when new episodes are coming out.